Hello everyone. This will be a different kind of video on this channel. This video is not about music, not about violin, guitar or jazz. It's about video editing, and namely about the possibilities of using lookup tables or LUTs in Vegas Pro 15. Now, I've been mainly doing my video editing in Davinci Resolve, which is known for its powerful capabilities when it comes to color correction and color grading, and I just like experimenting with it. But when I heard that Vegas Pro 15 introduced internal LUT support for lookup tables, I decided to take the plunge and I bought it. And I'm now experimenting with Vegas Pro 15 to see if I can get similar results. And why do I want to change? That's because even though I like Davinci Resolve and you can do anything with it you want, editing audio, syncing audio, or just generally editing video is kind of a hassle in Davinci Resolve. It's slow, it's cumbersome, the controls are not intuitive, and with Vegas Pro 15, because it's set up like a digital audio workstation, which is what I'm used to, it's very fast for me to edit videos, and especially the audio, which is an important part of the videos. So yesterday I recorded myself editing some footage or coloring some footage in Davinci Resolve and then the same footage in Vegas Pro 15 to see if I could get similar results. And what you will see is that I can get the look I want or like in Resolve in 5 to 10 minutes and then really struggle to get a similar look in Vegas. And although I do get kind of close, it's not comparable. In the end, it's not comparable. The Davinci Resolve video file is superior. So my question to you is, if you have any advice for me or any tips how I can adapt my workflow in Vegas 15 to get better results, please let me know. So let's get to the video. Oh yeah, one more note. I keep referring to Vegas Pro 15 as Sony Vegas Pro 15, but that's because that software package used to be marketed by Sony, but they sold it to Magix. So now it's just called Vegas Pro 15. So let's switch to my screen and I hope you enjoy the video. So here we are in Davinci Resolve and I've imported a clip from my most recent tutorial video about jazz guitar. And this video was shot with a Sony RX10 Mark II, which is a decent camera. And I also shoot a lot of videos with my phone. I have a Samsung Note 5, and when I shoot my phone, I usually don't do any color grading or correction. I just take the footage as is and just do some audio editing, some limiting, a little bit of compression and EQ, but no video editing. But when I shoot with one of my better cameras, I do color correction. This was shot with picture profile 4, which is not a flat picture profile. As you can see, it's quite saturated. It's a Rec 709. It's supposed to be a Rec 709 color profile, and luckily most LUTs are provided in both flat profiles, log profiles, and Rec 709. So I'm just gonna do some quick color correction and then apply the LUT. See where we go, what we get. So I can see in my scopes right here that it's a little bit overexposed. Usually when I do these videos, I'm alone. I have to set the camera and do the sound, and I do have some lights pointing at me, but still overexposed. So the first thing I'm gonna do with this note is fix the light a little bit. Just take it down a bit. Maybe also raise the blacks, the shadows, and crush the blacks a bit. I like a slightly crushed look. Okay, this is kind of okay. Without. Better. Let's add another note and do some. Second note for me is always saturation. Even though it's already saturated, I'd like to add some more saturation. There's two ways you can do it. You can use this tab and raise the red, green, blue output, and then adjust the gain to your taste, but I found you get exactly the same results by adjusting the saturation. Wait, there and here, right here, saturation. So usually I start at 65, and then that's too much, I think. So let's go to 60. That is okay for now. These settings can all change after I apply the LUT. So, but for now, this is actually already quite a pleasing picture. And let's do some white balance correction. I usually have the white balance on auto, so I don't spend a lot of time. And the camera does a decent job, but there is an easy way to fix white balance issues in Davinci Resolve, which I wish there was the same easy way in Vegas. So what you do is you take your, you go to curves, you take your qualifier and you pick something white. Now there is not really something white, maybe these piano keys. Let's try those. And then you get a couple of dots on the curve, and you can already see that the white balance is quite okay because the dots are close together. But then you can put the dots on the same horizontal plane, this, and that should fix it. So it's a slight adjustment. You see, there's a little bit too much blue in the original footage, and it changes it. That's actually more like what the room looks like. So that's correct. Let's check our lighting. I can see that the adjustments. Let's adjust the highlights a bit. Okay, good. And now I think it's about time for the LUT. Right? Let's call it LUT. And I have a couple of LUTs choices. I have the LUTs of Osiris. I have the free Sedona LUT. I don't really like it. I have the Triune LUTs. Those are the guys from Film Riot. Those are excellent LUTs. I have Valleycore, which is great. But I like to use it more for like concerts, videos of concerts with a lot of different kind of objects in the screen. But for an image like this, which is just in a room, and the colors are already kind of matched. You know, it's a lot of gray and bluish colors, except for the guitar. So in that case, I'd like to go to Triune, to the Film Riot LUTs. So I go to Standard, which is the Rec 907. So they have lock. They have red lock for red cameras. I own 5 red cameras. No, I don't own any red cameras. I wish. So I go to Standard. And all those LUTs are inspired by movies. And I don't like all of them, but one I really like, and that's the one I'm going to use, is Skyfall. It's kind of a... I'm not sure if this looks like the Bond movie, but I really like this LUT. Let's look at it. Sorry, without. It's kind of a dramatic change, you know. So I really like this, the way it looks already. I don't think I need to do more than this. I could maybe put in some contrast. So I would go to the first tab, or I could do it in the second tab with the contrast slider right here. I'm not a fan of the contrasty look. Let's see if less contrast. Now, you know what? I'm gonna leave it like this. So what else could I do? I could work on the face, you know, work on the face colors, but I really like the color of the face, the skin color here. As you will see in Vegas, this will be more of a problem. So maybe last step, add some sharpening, which is excellent in Davinci Resolve. Just go to the sharpening tab. So you could fiddle with this bars here. What I do is I usually put it on 45, which is much too much, as you can see. If you look, zoom in, you can see that's extreme. With. So what I do is then I go to the gain and usually put it on 60% or something. That kind of looks decent. With, yeah, that's good. So I'm quite happy with the way this looks. You could add an extra node even and put in the black levels, control black level. A lot of people do this. They go to curves and they go to luminance versus saturation, and then you can choose the black point and make sure black is black. Don't think it's gonna do a lot with this footage because it's pretty dark already. Let's say without, with. Well, something happens here around the guitar edge. With, yeah, seems like it fixes some of the color inconsistencies here. So let's leave it. I don't see an option like this for Vegas. I think maybe in some place, I don't know. So we could, let's just for fun, add one extra note to see what you could do. For instance, sometimes I do this. You could work on the face, you know, if you don't like the color. One of the looks you could go for is kind of a desaturated look, but it's already kind of desaturated. So I put a power mask, power window is what it's called, power window. And then you can go to curves, go to U versus U first, see what that does, and select the red point. And then, so you can change the color of the face to more reddish tint. So check is without, with. Well, it actually looks better because it's kind of yellowish otherwise. But you could also go to the next step and go for a desaturated look. You could actually do it right here, I think. We could choose the face here, color, and then pull this down. This, let me see. So without, with, well, I like it. I'm gonna leave it like this. So this will be our example to see if we can match this with Vegas. And if we can get close. I think this looks really pretty nice. And I will render it out, and then I will compare it at the end with the Vegas and the Davinci Resolve look. So let's look one more time at doing nothing. So everything off, and then everything on looks much better. And then only the LUTs. Let's put the LUT off. So no LUTs with the LUTs. Yeah, great. So leave it like that. Let's go to Sony Vegas. Okay, so here we are in Sony Vegas, and I've imported both the uncolored raw clip. Well, it's not raw, of course, but the uncolored clip. And I also rendered out the Davinci Resolve result, and I took a print screen from it, and I imported that too. That's right here. So the first thing that you notice is that this preview window, it's so out of focus, it's so blurry, and I really don't understand why. I put the best settings, I put it on best full, I disabled resample, yeah, disable resample right here. And maybe if you turn off loop, I don't think so. Well, no, it's just so out of focus. And not only my uncolored clip, but also the Davinci Resolve screen grab. If you compare it with that same screen grab in a normal picture viewer, earphone view, it's completely in focus. Now, when you render it out of Vegas, it actually will be in focus. But if you don't know that and you look at this, you might think that you didn't correctly put the focus when you were recording the video. Kind of depressing. So that I find very annoying, but it is what it is. I can work around it. So this is what we're going for. This is the result from Davinci Resolve. This is what we're starting with right now. And I'm just gonna go through the same process, adjust the lighting first. And in Sony Vegas, we do that with, we don't do it with nodes. We do it with plugins on the tracks, like almost like or exactly like a DAW, like Pro Tools. And I like to do lighting with curves, just like in Davinci Resolve. So curves. Now, the curves respond very differently in Vegas. You have to make much more movement to move something in the scopes. Right? Here are the scopes. In Vegas, in Davinci Resolve, you move it a little bit, and a lot of stuff is happening. So you have more extremes. You can ruin the picture more, but there's also more room for you to be creative. But we'll do the same thing. We're going to bring the highlights down. If you want to bring the highlights down, you cannot just grab this point. You have to actually select it like this. Kind of strange too. And bring it down right to here. Maybe raise the blacks a little bit and then crush it. Now you can see that. Yeah, maybe right here. To start with, this is probably okay. Yeah. So next would be saturation, and I like to do that just with the color corrector and go to custom because more smaller screen. And there's saturation here, and usually I go for something like, I start with 1.4 and then say, oh, that's too much. Let's go to 1.25, let's see. That still some weird stuff happening to the face also, but yeah, for now it's okay. Then let's do some white balance correction with curves. Now I haven't found a way to do it the same way as in Davinci Resolve. I mean, there's no way for me to find a qualifier here, so I just used the parade, the RGB parade. And then you can see, because I remember from Davinci Resolve that there was a little bit too much blue, and you can see that there is a little bit too much blue, not in the extreme shadows, but kind of near the shadows. So just select the blue line here, make a point right here, I think, and maybe a little bit down. Maybe push the reds a little bit up, same place. And what do you have now? Okay, this is kind of okay, maybe. I really don't like the saturation here, but I'm gonna leave it for like this for now and maybe make some adjustments later. There's a lot of blue in the shadows here. It doesn't really bother me, but we could fix it. I'm not sure it will change a lot by just raising the shadow. I don't see much difference by doing that, but let's leave it like this for now. So this is without, with. A little bit warmer of a picture. I'm not sure I like it better though. Actually, when we apply the LUT, I think it will move it back to more bluish. But of course, we have to color correct before, because otherwise it's a double effect. So this is quite okay for me. I'm going to add the LUT. So now the LUT plugin is called Vegas LUT filter. Yeah. And you just browse to the LUT file. So I have this folder here. And we were using the Triune Record 709, the standard, and we were using the Skyfall. Right. Okay. Whoa, okay, so you see a lot of change, but it doesn't look like the Davinci Resolve result at all. You see, the skin is very yellowish. The whole picture is kind of yellowish. Maybe it's also the color correction with it. Let's turn it off. Let's see. That's actually closer. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at the within Vegas like this. Now turn color correction on. It's a difference right there. Yeah, I'm gonna leave color correction off. So maybe I did something wrong, but I'm gonna leave it off. And let's see if we can get closer to this. First of all, it's a lot darker. The blacks are more crushed. So I'll go back to the first and crush the blacks a little bit more. Always use scopes when you do this, because you don't want to. Like this, maybe. You could also use the contrast slider here. Oh no, we have to add a contrast. Let's add a contrast plugin to see if that helps. Brightness and contrast. Put it right after saturation. Oh, let's do before saturation. No, after. I don't know why. Feels better. So it becomes better, but you can see in our scopes now that we're crushing the blacks too hard. So we have to raise it here. Yeah, that's not really working, is it? Let's not use the brightness and contrast plugin. I'm gonna do it in the curves. Maybe put an extra like that. That looks better, actually. Let's look again at, well, that is much better. It's still a lot darker. Actually, you can see in Vegas, it shows the Davinci picture to be with illegal values. And I'm not sure why that is. It didn't show like that in Davinci Resolve, but I've heard that you should always render out Vegas video files with a plugin called Sony Levels, but I find it ridiculous. I'm just gonna ignore the scopes in the lows, and I'm gonna just mimic our Davinci Resolve results. So I'm gonna drag this down. It's a lot more crushed. More. Okay, it's too much, but close enough. Now it actually is starting to look. So the big difference now I see, I mean, there's a couple of differences, but the big difference is the face color. But remember, we worked on it in Davinci Resolve, and you can do the same in Sony Vegas. It is, though, a much more complicated process, but let's just do it. So the way to do it is you duplicate the video track, or this is the way I do it. Maybe there's another way, but... And then you make a mask here. So the first thing we do is we add a plugin called secondary color correction, color corrector. And let's add it before the LUT. I always like to do all my corrections before the LUTs. Apart from sharpening, I like to do that last. So, and then we're going to take a qualifier here and select the face. Then we do show mask. I have to turn off the lower track because, yeah, okay. Let's go back. Show mask, invert mask. Maybe I took the wrong one. Let's take this one. Show mask. Fiddle around with the... I did something wrong. Let's default this again. Let's do it again. I think I took the wrong qualifier in the beginning. So mask. So we should try to get only the face as much as possible. So what we can do, because this is not really working out for me, we could, I mean, the face is now selected, so that's something. We could actually mask out the face here in event pen crop and then choose the face like this. So now it's only affecting the face. Of course, we need to feather it. So we go to feather type, both, and let's make about, let's try 50 first. It's kind of a lot, but turn off the mask in the plugin. That's kind of okay. And then we are going to adjust the face color. Let's try to desaturate it like we did in Davinci Resolve. So going to turn down saturation. And we could push it maybe a little bit towards red. Let's put saturation back. It's too much. Or maybe towards blue, because it's kind of red already. Like this, and turn down saturation. Okay, let's see if we're closer to Davinci Resolve. Well, it's still the whole Davinci Resolve picture. Just, this is Davinci Resolve. It just looks a little bit, but it's pretty close. It looks like the whole picture is kind of less saturated. So let's try to adjust. Still think the feather should be more. Let's try and change that in the mask here. You see, Vegas is much more complicated with accessing all these things. They're more spread apart, different places. That looks probably better. Let's turn off the lower track. Yeah, I'm not so sure. Let's see what we changed in the face. You see, there was like yellowish, and then it's definitely an improvement, but I can see the area around it affected. Maybe if you draw a preciser mask, it's probably better, but it's kind of okay. This is the Davinci. Looks pretty similar. I'm gonna try to adjust the total saturation that we did here. So let's see 0, 1. I mean, it's called 1 here. Let's add a little bit back, maybe 1.1. I still think the Davinci Resolve picture looks a little bit better, but I'm okay with this. So last step, we're gonna add some sharpening. So there's 2 ways of doing it. You can use the unsharp mask, but I usually use just Vegas Sharpen, and I just choose the light preset. It's very difficult to judge it because the whole picture is out of focus anyway. It looks out of focus. It's 0.25. I'm just going to do 0.2. And yeah, let's render this out, and let's compare the two and see if Vegas can, if you could approach Davinci Resolve's result with Vegas. I'll see you on the other side. So I rendered out the Vegas video file too. So I have both the Davinci file and the Vegas file, and I took screen caps from both. So on the left side, we have the Resolve, and on the right side we have the Vegas. And So two things happened, or one thing happened actually. When I was rendered the Vegas file, I noticed that it was much too dark. So in fact, the scopes were right, but there is something happening in the render process with Vegas. It's somehow it renders the picture differently from what you see on the screen. I think a lot of people, they put a levels plugin and then they choose a preset called Computer to Studio Colors or something like that. I think it's kind of ridiculous. I just want to render out the same picture I see in the preview window. But if you render it out without the plugin, it will increase the contrast. So when I rendered it, it was much too dark. So I went back, erased the black level, the shadows, and now it came out like this. And as you can see, they're pretty similar, but there is some major differences. There's a lot of banding in the Vegas file. You can see here. The Davinci file looks a little bit cleaner. Also, the face looks much better in the Davinci Resolve file. Just everything looks a little bit more clean. The sharpness is, I think the sharpness of the Davinci file is more pleasing. Maybe the Vegas file is too sharp now, but you could probably tweak that. Actually, I could probably tweak the video file Vegas more and get it even closer to the Davinci file. But I think we can conclude that you can come pretty close, if not get the same result. But it's much easier to get this result in DaVinci, much easier, goes much quicker. So there's two options for me. I could first do the color work in DaVinci, then render to a format without a lot of loss in picture, so like a DNX HD, and then import that file in Vegas and then do all the editing, the audio editing and the syncing. Or I could go to Vegas and just be happy with the results I get there. That's probably what I end up doing, because it's just a hassle to render into these formats, and then, I mean, it takes a lot of time. So, I mean, for YouTube, the result I get with Vegas, it's pretty nice. It's much better than I would have gotten in the past. And it's also, the videos are not about the colors, they're about the content, but still, you know, it's also kind of a hobby of mine to work on it. And final remark also about the rendering times. The rendering times of Vegas used to be horrible, but now with the new Vegas 15, it uses, it can render on your GPU. And I have a NVIDIA GTX 960, which is not really a powerful card, but Vegas can still use it using NVIDIA's NVENC encoder, and that really improves the rendering time. So the rendering times of Davinci Resolve and Vegas, they're very comparable. So that's not an issue anymore. So in the end, I think because of the simplified editing in Vegas and the huge audio advantages, and you can get pretty good colors, I'll probably switch to Vegas. But if it's really important to get the colors just right, maybe I'll go through Davinci Resolve first. Also, Davinci Resolve is free. And Vegas is not cheap. That's another thing to consider. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have questions or remarks, or maybe you saw something that I could improve in my Vegas workflow or even in my Davinci workflow, just let me know, and then I can learn something as well. Okay, see you next time. Bye.